Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new, my name is Janelle and I like making lifestyle vlogs, productivity, monthly reset, some travel, and some teaching vlogs. But in today's video, I'm gonna be talking about how I planned my month-long Europe trip and how to save for it. I do wanna say as a disclaimer that everyone's budget can look different. You can plan and travel around Europe in different ways, but this is just how me and Brandon did it. Brandon, my husband. All the information I'll be mentioning, or like just maybe some advice in this video, are just based on my own experience and what we did. How to plan for a month-long trip, and it doesn't even have to be in Europe. Maybe like you just graduated high school and you want to do a month-long trip. Maybe you just graduated college and you want to do a gap year or a gap month. Maybe you're a teacher like me who have summer breaks off, or just, I don't know, this is for anybody. And again, this is just based on my own experiences and what we did to plan our trip and save for our month-long Europe trip. I think the first one is to plan out where you want to go. So think of all the places that you want to go, and for us, we picked, the first place that we went to was Portugal, to Spain, to Italy, and then to Greece. That's how we planned it. You plan out your days and what month you can go do your trip. I start out with a Google Doc. That's like a brain dump, okay? It's like a draft planning. And you do a brain dump of like the places you want to go to, and maybe sites that you want to see at those places. But once you have an idea of where you want to go, you should definitely look at the accommodations. So hotels, Airbnbs, hostels, depends on your budget. All of the accommodations that we used was Airbnb, and one of the main reasons we wanted to do Airbnb is so that we have a lot of space and we can cook our food, has a kitchen and all that stuff. Definitely look at specific dates. In my opinion, the sooner you look at accommodations, the better, because one, you have a lot of options. Lots of options. That means there'll be different price ranges from very cheap to really expensive, but having a lot of options is way better, because if you do it last minute, you obviously don't have a lot of options, and then you're stuck with, I don't know, $1,000 a night or something like that, and you don't want to spend that much money. I mean, you can if you have that budget, but I don't. And the next thing that you should do is browse for flights. One thing I do is, let's say I wanted to see what the flights look like from Porto, Portugal to Valencia, Spain, because that's what we did. Honestly, I think the best one from my experience is just Googling it, and the Google flight trackers or flights will show you the cheapest ones on the top, and then like the dates and stuff. You'll be able to see which airlines would be cheaper for that specific day if you use the Google flights. You know, if you're really planning on a budget, you need to plan ahead of time. We plan for 10 to 12 months, but again, this depends on your budget. You can go more than 12 months, you can go less than 12 months, but we saved for 10 to 12 months. We use a spreadsheet to track our costs, like Airbnbs, train and ferry rides, airplane rides, excursions. I'll show you like an example of what we used and what I made for our trip. This is what worked for us, and this is how my brain works. We put in the locations, like specific cities that we're going to, and then like what type of transportation we were using, like whether it's a train, plane, or ferry, because that's very important. You could put in the dates, so arrival date or departure date. You do it how you want it, but this is just what we did and what we used and what worked for us. Another way to plan is go on TikTok or Instagram. I go on TikTok and I search up what to do or what to see in Lisbon, Portugal, what to do, what to see in Milan, Italy, or you can say cheap things to do in Amalfi. There's a lot of people with informative videos that you can save and put it in your collections, and then you can always watch them and plan out where you want to go, what you want to do. So each day I pretty much planned out where I wanted to go, and you don't have to be like this, okay? I feel like this part may seem too much, but I feel like for me, if you plan ahead of time, things will go more smoothly and that you don't waste time, because for me, I don't like to waste time. I would be pretty upset if I found something on TikTok, like somewhere in Milan, and I didn't know. I'm like, oh, I should have went there. Like, we had so much time. So that's why it's so important for me to plan out, search either on TikTok, Instagram, or Pinterest to, you know, search up what to do, what to see, and where to go, cheap places to eat in these specific places, and then you write it in your Google Doc. Once you have everything in your Google Doc and your each day or each week, whatever, how you plan it is planned out, you can make it pretty and make an itinerary. Now this seems kind of extra too. I use Canva, and I'll put in an example of how I did it for our itinerary. I like to make things pretty. Once I have everything planned out, I make a Canva itinerary and put in the places that we're going to and what I want to see, where I want to eat, and all that stuff. Now, I want to talk about how to save for a month-long trip. We used Airbnbs, and I feel like Airbnbs are getting a little bit more pricey, but you know what? In some places, it's very cheap. We stayed in Valencia, Spain for 4 or 5 days, and in total, it was like 300 something, maybe 200, I don't even know. To me, that's a good deal, because in some places, it's 300 a night, you know, compared to 4 or 5 nights. That's why it's really important to plan out and see what your options are. If you want to go cheaper, then I would recommend hostel. Brandon and I used hostels before when we traveled to Europe in 2017. That's when we were like literally on a budget, like super on a budget. Hostels are places that you can rent a bed and you share a room with like 4 to 8 people, so you know, different strangers in the room, but you have your own bed, so they'll have bunk beds and stuff. It's definitely cheaper, and you don't mind sharing a room with different people. Obviously, if you do go to hostels, definitely get your own lock, because they do provide lockers. You should have your own lock. That way, if you need to store your backpack and all that stuff, you can lock it, and that way no one can get through your stuff or, you know, grab any of your stuff, especially when you're sharing with strangers in the room. Okay, another way to save money is to make home cooked meals. Again, we use Airbnbs because we like the space. It has like kitchen, dining area, all that stuff. So we cooked a couple times. Or you can also Google search cheap, fast takeout places in that area. So that's what we did as well. We didn't eat a lot at fancy restaurants or anything like that. We did eat at a couple places, but not a lot. We would either just do quick, cheap takeout places, like local places, or we would make food at the Airbnb, especially like in Italy with pasta and sauce. Like, that's so simple, and cheese. So that's what we did to help save our money. And then we use public transportation. So using the metro, using the bus. We did not use any Ubers. We did not use any taxis, because those are very overpriced. Using the metro, the subway, whatever that they call it over there, and the bus, it's so much cheaper, like way cheaper. And I'm grateful that Brandon knows all that stuff, because I would probably be lost. It is kind of confusing. That's why a lot of people just don't want to use it, because it can be difficult, because sometimes you have to change metros. As long as you figure it out and use Google, Google has great, you know, Google Maps and stuff like that. It's really good. Again, this all depends on your price range. We were like, we didn't want to waste our money on Uber or taxi, because we knew they're always overpriced, and it's just way cheaper to use the metro. So we use the metro a lot. Another way to save money is to work more, and it might be like, oh, that's a lot of hours or a lot of like dedication and sacrifice time. But in my head, I'm like, this is like once in a lifetime thing. For me, if I really want something, I will go after it. Everyone's life situation is different. This is just what I did. So obviously I'm a teacher, that's like my main income. And then I do out school, and then I do some babysitting. So I did lots of date nights. I only do date nights. If parents want to do date nights, I'm always there to babysit. I work with different families, so that helps. I do have some passive income with YouTube, which I'm very grateful for. And then I have an Etsy shop and Teachers Pay Teachers shop. And then I have affiliated links And I talked about all of this stuff in a specific video, so if you are interested in ways to have multiple incomes, I will link that video in the description box. By doing all these things, I was able to put in specific money in specific places. Let's say my babysitting money would go into our Airbnb cost. Let's say the passive income from YouTube, it would go for like saving for food cost, you know, all that stuff. If you work in like shifts, maybe you can ask a coworker if you can take their shift, or like if a coworker needs somebody to cover for them, get that extra shift, work multiple hours, get some multiple incomes if you can. Some people probably Uber, some people probably DoorDash, Grubhub, all that stuff to make that extra income. If you really want to go to a trip, it doesn't even have to be a month long. If it's like a 5-day trip, 10-day trip, and you really want to go, you can go. You just have to put in that planning, that prepping, and work extra shifts. That way you're able to go to that vacation, because I feel like everyone deserves a vacation. When Brandon and I were in Europe, we were pretty jealous of a lot of people who live in Europe because their system is so different compared to the US. I love how in a lot of countries in Europe, it's pretty laid back. Maybe depends on the city. They take their vacations seriously. A lot of places there, companies require their employees to take 4 weeks off, paid 4 weeks off. And in the US, it's not like that at all. I think it's just crazy to me that when you work at a company, they only give you 2 weeks off out of the year. That's just insane to me. And I just love the mindset in a lot of countries in Europe, because it's so important that you live your life and good to have a work-life balance. Compared to the US, it's all like work, 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 and only work. Take those vacation times, because you never know when your life is gonna end. Sad thing to say, but you just never know what will happen tomorrow. You don't even know what's gonna happen later today. I feel like if you really want to take that vacation, I feel like you should work for it. Take that vacation if you can. It's important that we live our life and do things that we enjoy every day, because life is too short to be miserable. Life's too short to be unhappy. Enjoy the big and little things. Obviously the trip is a big thing, but also enjoy the little things, like whether it's journaling, whether it's listening to music, playing basketball, working out. Do something that you enjoy. Hopefully you got some helpful information in this video on how to plan for a month-long trip and how to save. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I will see you next time.